238. Maintenance. Pivoting on the ankles like a vampire, Rain rose from his cloud-soft bed. He took with him a cape made not from bat skin, but from his decadently poofy comforter, charged with the spiritual weight of Amelia's arms. Soft, fluffy slippers formed around his feet as he floated down to the floor. With a yawn so loud he needed to enlist Sneck's help, he wrapped the blanket tight about himself and shuffled toward his desk. Once the tiny avatar had rehinged its jaw, it slithered across the desk to greet him as he settled into the chair. "Good morning, me." In response to a thought, a steaming mug of hot cocoa sprouted from the desk like it was being 3D printed in time-lapse. Poking a hand out from under the blanket to grab the handle was almost a physical pain, but the warm, rich liquid immediately soothed the discomfort away. Rain released a satisfied sigh and set the mug on a coaster as 3 widescreen monitors flickered to life. Tethering his interface to the workstation, he opened a fresh document and began to type. To do 3061-06-01. Tree unlock. Essence exchange. Figure out how much time I have before Amelia wakes up. Core maintenance. Unity prep. Read zone codices. Update minimap utility. Status report to the High Council. Check on Ascension. More and better RAM scoops. Armor and shields. Learn how to be a musical Tesla coil. Pattern 22. Finish to-do list. Rain smirked as he typed the last item, which had become tradition. He reached for his mug, finding Sneck curled around it for warmth. Unwilling to disturb even the smallest cozy part of himself, he simply summoned a fresh beverage, taking a long pull of black coffee this time. He surveyed the roughly prioritized list, deciding it was good enough, then jumped straight in. After spending the requisite experience to unlock a tree, a new dialogue obediently appeared on his rightmost monitor. Arcane Mysteries, Tier 4, Mass Teleport, 0 out of 10. Instantaneously transport yourself and all targeted entities/objects to a previously visited location. Target range, 1 meter. Destination range, 10 kilometers. Cost, variable arcane mana, based on weight, distance, focus, and environmental factors. Cast time, 1 minute. Requires 84 ranks in Arcane Mysteries. Requires 42 ranks in Arcane Utility. Requires 10 ranks in Flash. Requires 10 ranks in Flight. Tss, Rain said, reading. When his interface gave up on presenting a formula, it typically meant one of the underlying variables wasn't quantifiable. Here, that would be the environmental factors. From lightly grilled Glavin, the as-yet missing and thus probably dead, though possibly chillaxing in a tropical paradise somewhere, translocationist. Rain had already known as much, but he dared to hope. Taking another sip of his coffee, he opened a new document and copied in the text, starting his report to the council. Jameis would be interested in the skill description, or at least the requirements if nothing else. Getting flight, flash, and elemental refinement would be pretty easy for him, supposing they found him a decent blue sometime this century, and supposing he even wanted it. Jameis hadn't exactly been slacking recently, but his priorities had clearly shifted away from earning credits. If he was happy spending time with Melanie and reconnecting with his family, who was anyone to judge? He's not the one with a ticking time bomb in his head. Rain's eyes glazed over as he extended his senses and triggered an essence exchange. Progress report. Marker 1, City of Lights. 3061, Light 32, 10 a.m. Marker 2, 3 core. 3061, First Harvest, 01, 9:15 a.m. Span, 23.2 hours. Character. Total experience, 5,436,316 to 6,136,316, plus 700,000. Mana use, 700,000. Skills. Prismatic Intent, plus 16,863 experience. Level 9 to 10, plus 1. Returning with a series of rapid blinks, Rain released a small sigh that had nothing to do with the dialogue. As expected, the system had barely fed him a trickle of essence. The 4 or so minutes it had been in the real world since his last exchange, triggered before engaging in 10 subjective hours of sleep, hadn't been enough for the environment of 3 core to meaningfully recover. Not that he'd expected any different. Like in the city above, the essence here was thinned, thanks to all the awakened around. Nevertheless, it was better down here, particularly in the tunnels. Over the course of his run, he'd more than kept even on his essence balance through repeated exchanges, and the improving efficiency of his ram scoops. He was ahead of schedule on tree unlocks, able to justify liberal mana usage, and thus experience gain, thanks to his increased chaos intake. His refinement stack could keep up, so there was no need to mess with it for the moment. Ram scoops before refinement cells. That's the bottleneck. Even if I figure out the next pattern, I'll need more essence before I can do anything with it. Rain got to his feet and stretched. Feeling more awake, he split his mind a bit further, tasking Sneck to start composing the report for the council. Keeping the blanket, he moved away, and keys began pressing themselves as Sneck dragged the warm mug to the center of the desk. Finishing his own drink, Rain disappeared the mug and walked to the elevator. He could have walked himself where he was going, but he wasn't in a rush. Exactly how not much of a rush he was in, he calculated as he walked. With her last accolade set up and all 4 rings, Amelia has 693 in each stat. She can't do that all the time, no matter what she says. But she had all 4 on when she went to bed, so that's the number I'm using. That makes her time acceleration around 2.6 times. Same as her Jack multiplier. Nice coincidence. She sounded dead, so assuming she sleeps at least as long as I did, I've got 4 real-time hours plus 38 minutes for her to take Unity. The better part of a month relative. No way I can wait that long. I'll finish what I need to do, then sleep normally. Hell yes, Unity. Let's go. Grinning, Rain paused, catching sight of his electric blue eyes, reflected in the chrome elevator doors as they closed. He'd willed his irises brown before he'd gone to bed, but they'd already reverted. Reactor, he muttered, and the lift started moving. The reversion was expected at this point, confirmation that his soul considered blue to be the correct color for his eyes, just as it considered absolutely shredded to be the correct state for his body. His strength sync drove the latter, but there was nothing he could clearly point to when it came to his eyes. I mean, I don't mind. They look cool, and Amelia says she likes them. I just wish I knew why. My focus and clarity sync have been maxed for ages. Is it because I split them out of my core? Because my soul is basically pure now? Because of reading? Did I earn some mana spending achievement? The doors opened with Rain no closer to an answer. He stepped out into a cavernous room, humming from the power coursing through the tangled network of conduits that connected the various machines. The remains of his original core were off to one side. The remnant of the gemstone plumbed in along with all the rest. There were still functions tangled up inside it that he'd yet to extract. My cable management needs work. Feeling his slippers were inappropriate, he changed them to work boots, leaving his blanket alone as he ventured out into the mess. In Vatrice's model, The heart represented the linkage between the soul and the body. In his model, the main reactor filled that role. He'd gone for a modular design, hundreds of tiny crystals humming in parallel. As for what each core was doing, the answer was creating flow. The motion was important. Without moving potential nearby, higher-tier soul constructs would eventually break down. Further, the potential had to circulate through the link to his mind, where it could be charged with his will. Physically, each reactor core was a cylindrical plug of machinery, a quarter-meter across, and a full 2 meters long. They were slotted in banks into a monolithic block of metal that held them in place and connected them to his ever-growing plumbing network. At the moment, most of the sockets were dark, some because they were empty, and others because the cores within had cracked, the telltale tang of chaos lingering in the air. That was fine, planned for. The burned cores were all low rank. Some of the first he'd made from lower grades of essence. Needing his hands, he shifted the blanket to hang from his shoulders like a heavy cape. One by one, he began pulling them out, effortlessly manipulating the massive cores by their handles and tossing them into the recycler. Once finished, he drew rank essence from a tap on the wall and began constructing a replacement. Just one, though, and only from Tier 15 potential. That was all he could spare. Naturally, he would upgrade everything to max eventually. This reactor would be his primary source of essence in rankless places. For, in addition to driving circulation, each core also output a tiny trickle of essence according to its rank. Unfortunately, ex nihilo generation was orders of magnitude too inefficient to solve his current problem. Working on the new core's decomposer required to degrade his high-rank outflow to something his also due for an upgrade plumbing could handle. Rain found that despite Sneck still typing away upstairs, he still had some spare mental bandwidth. With it, he turned his thoughts to the rest of the room. When mining his original core, one of his discoveries had been shards, charged with the flavor of each attribute. As a direct consequence, the largest bit of machinery in here, besides the reactor itself, was the housing for his clarity. It was a converter, amongst other things. Essence went in and mana came out. From there, his pipes carried it to the reactor and out to his body, where it hung out until he recalled it to fuel a skill. Naturally, that was an oversimplification. Like his paling, system stuff was threaded all through the clarity machine in ways he didn't understand, and was afraid to modify. He had the feeling that once he had the time to really dig into it, sync and tolerance would become solved problems, but there were only so many hours in the accelerated day. For now, the machine was a literal black box. He'd added connectors to his other constructs, and pretty coloured lights that lit up as he slid his stats around with the malleable ring, but that was it. The inside was solid, perframulated amulite. Buttoning up the new core's housing, Rain decided his spare thoughts would be better spent on something more immediately relevant. Accolades, inventory, status, resistances. 31 of 31. Slots. 8. 4x2. Accolade, the Icy Cellar. Total bonus, plus 2,000 health. Slots. 6. 2x3. Accolade, Jackin's Pride. Total bonus, plus 600 all resistances. Slots. 6. 2x3. Accolade, we can't just call it the Lair. Total bonus, plus 400 force resistance. Slots. 3. Accolade, Ullah's Hope. Total bonus, plus 5,000 health. Slots. 3. Accolade, the Lair of Embers. Total bonus, 1,000 heat resistance. Slots. 2. 2x1. Accolade, the Halls of Corruption. Total bonus, plus 20 focus. Slots. 2. Accolade, South Shore Rat Warren. Total bonus, 1000 health. Slots, 1. Accolade, Everdeep Fortress. Total bonus, plus 10 perception. Slot, head, chest, legs, hands, feet, offhand. Item, Myriad Plate, bound, durability, hardness, 12,047. 500 heat resistance, 500 cold resistance, 375 chem resistance, 350 force resistance, 5,000 arcane resistance, lightness, compression, heat regulation, on, tactile transference, on, facade, on, obfuscation, on, arcane regeneration, off, kinetic conversion. Charge, 185,500 of 185,500. Saturation, 0 of 154,209. Durability, 602,044 of 602,044. Rings, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Grand Malleable Rings, bound, unity, 300 of 300 attributes. Charge, 500 of 500. Saturation, 0 of 4,270. Durability, 903 of 903. Rings, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Aura Collector's Ring, bound, unity, plus 1.14 aura synergy, on. Charge, 500 of 500. Saturation, 0 out of 4,272. Durability, 313 of 313. Amulet, Magewell Amulet, bound, unity, Magewell, 100% import efficiency, 100% export efficiency. Charge, 50,000 of 50,000. Saturation, 0 out of 39,211. Durability, 313 of 313. Main hand, none. Underwear, Force Weave, mundane. Overwear, Sadiri. Wrappings, mundane. Richmond, Rain, Stroudwater. Class, Engine of Change. Level, 30. Cap, 30. Stats to attribute, 0. Experience, 130,422. Next, 130,423. Total, 6,136,316. Skills to allocate, 1. Vitals, Health, 18,200 of 18,200. Health regen, 100 per day. Stamina, 5,163 of 5,200. Stamina regen, 100 per day. Mana, 231,500 of 231,500. Mana regen, 6.6 per second. Attributes, 1,500 of 2,690. Effective strength, 510. Total strength, 510. Base strength, 10. Accolade strength, 0. Miscellaneous strength, 500 of 530. Strength synchronization, 20.6, 206%. Effective recovery, 10. Total recovery, 10. Base recovery, 10. Accolade recovery, 0. Miscellaneous recovery, 0 out of 770. Recovery synchronization, 11.5, 115%. Effective endurance, 260. Total endurance, 260. Base endurance, 10. Accolade endurance, 0. Miscellaneous endurance, 250 of 500. Endurance synchronization, 31.3, 313%. Effective vigor, 10. Total vigor, 10. Base vigor, 10. Accolade vigor, 0. Miscellaneous vigor, 0 out of 1,140. Synchronization, 11.6, 116%. Effective focus, 280. Total focus, 280. Base focus, 10. Accolade focus, 20. Miscellaneous focus, 250 of 2,000. Focus synchronization, 50. 167%. Effective clarity, 820. Total clarity, 820. Base clarity, 320. Accolade clarity, 0. Miscellaneous clarity, 500 of 2500. Clarity synchronization, 330, 103%. Effective perception, 20. Total perception, 20. Base perception, 10. Accolade perception, 10. Miscellaneous perception, 0 of 0. Perception synchronization, 47.1, 236%. Effective speed, 9.6. Total speed, 10. Base speed, 10. Accolade speed, 0. Miscellaneous speed, 0 out of 18. Speed synchronization, 9.6, 96%. Resistances. Total heat resistance, 2126, 120%. Endurance heat resistance, 26. Accolade heat resistance, 160. Miscellaneous heat resistance, 500, 120%. Total cold resistance, 1126, 0%. Endurance cold resistance, 26. Accolade cold resistance, 600. Miscellaneous cold resistance, 500, 0%. Total light resistance, 626, 0%. Endurance light resistance, 26. Accolade light resistance, 600, 0%. Miscellaneous light resistance, 0%. Total dark resistance, 626, 0%. Endurance dark resistance, 26. Accolade dark resistance, 600, 0%. Miscellaneous dark resistance, 0%. Total force resistance, 1376, 120%. Endurance force resistance, 26. Accolade force resistance, 1000, 0%. Miscellaneous force resistance, 350, 120%. Total arcane resistance, 5626, 120%. Endurance arcane resistance, 26. Accolade arcane resistance, 600, 0%. Miscellaneous arcane resistance, 5000, 120%. Total chemical resistance, 1001, 120%. Endurance chemical resistance, 26. Accolade chemical resistance, 600, 0%. Miscellaneous chemical resistance, 375, 120%. Total mental resistance, 626, 120%. Endurance mental resistance, 26. Accolade mental resistance, 600, 0%. Miscellaneous mental resistance, 0, 120%. Numbers. Rain smiled. Other than the freedom of the Savidians, the accolades were the best thing to come out of the Menevix by far. The accolades of Jackan's pride were the cream of the crop, and they'd gotten 4 of them. Ula's hope was great too, as was Not Worth It, which Amelia was using at the moment. The name probably had to do with it coming from an arcane lair. Whoever had broken the core clearly hadn't cared about the danger, and in doing so had proved the lair's namers wrong. The skill-granted accolade was so worth it, and a Tier 1 skill too. The Menevix must have paid a fortune. Dismissing his status, Rain summoned Amelia's instead. Amelia's status, accolades, equipment, status, and resistances are available in the written version of the chapter. Rain smiled at the colour of the panels, which he'd set to roughly match Amelia's soul. The display wasn't live or anything, just a collection of documents. He was sure he'd made the odd error here or there, and there were plenty of things he wasn't tracking, not wanting to pester Amelia with constant requests for the latest numbers. But close enough was something he was learning to deal with. I should update this after that run. Later, I know what's changed. Chuckling at himself, Rain plugged his completed reactor core into its slot. smiling as it lit up with a satisfying glow. Dusting his hands, he returned his attention to the panels as he headed for the elevator, feeling the power of the new core spreading slowly through the entirety of his being. It wasn't much compared to the single rank 21 core he'd made, but it more than made up for the ones it had replaced. Rain smiled, feeling stronger than ever, though still a little squishy from the depths. Between him and Amelia, there was no question who would be on the front line when things got real. Her myriad plate had the same enchantments as his, and while it didn't integrate the shield slot and was thus slightly weaker to start, its resistance buffs, hardness, durability, and max saturation were all multiplied by her passive skills. Likewise, her mage well could store twice as much mana as his, thanks to the strange way Empowered Amulet worked on the well enchantment. Rain scratched at his beard as the elevator doors slid closed. I didn't ask what skill she's dumping for Unity. Since we're sticking together, she doesn't need the extra 50,000 mana, so yeah, probably Empowered Amulet. I'm surprised she hasn't dumped it already, actually. Skill deck, he said, waving the windows away. As the elevator hummed, he couldn't help bouncing on the balls of his feet with excitement. There was a lot of uncertainty around which skills Unity would actually work with, and it was limited to Tier 2, unless they somehow managed to get Amelia above 3,840 focus. But even so, the list was stacked. Skills: Aura Metamagic, Tier 0, Amplify Aura 15 of 15, Extend Aura 15 out of 15, Tier 1, Aura Focus 15 out of 15, Aura Synergy 20 out of 15, Tier 2, Aura IFF 15 out of 15, Prismatic Intent 10 out of 15, Tier 3, Aura Compression 15 of 15, Ethereal Aura 15 of 15, Tier 4, Anchor Aura 11 out of 15, Defensive Auras, Tier 0, Heat Ward 15 of 15, Tier 1, Arcane Ward 15 of 15, Chemical Ward 15 of 15, Mental Ward 15 of 15, Tier 2, Force Ward 15 of 15, Tier 3, Suppression 15 of 15, Magical Utility, Intrinsic Clarity 15 of 15, Intrinsic Focus 15 of 15, Tier 1, Channel Mastery 15 of 15, Mana Manipulation 15 of 15, Tier 2, Magical Synergy 15 of 15, Offensive Auras, Tier 0, Immolate 15 of 15, Refrigerate 15 of 15, Tier 1, Radiance 15 of 15, Shroud 15 of 15, Tier 2, Fulmination 15 of 15, Utility Auras, Tier 0, Purify 15 of 15, Winter 15 of 15, Tier 1, Detection 15 of 15, Essence Well 15 of 15, Velocity 15 of 15, Free Skill Points 1. Amelia. Skills: Aura Metamagic, Tier 2, Prismatic Intent 4 of 10. Equipment Use, Tier 0, Deep Durability 10 of 10. Tier 1, Empowered Amulet 10 of 10. Empowered Mainhand 10 of 10. Empowered Offhand 10 of 10. Tier 2, Empowered Armor 10 of 10. Empowered Rings 20 of 10. Tier 4, Equipment Mastery 20 of 10. Heavy Armor, Tier 1, Thickened Plate 10 of 10. Tier 2, Deep Plate 10 of 10. Tier 3, Heavy Armor Inventory 10 of 10. Mana Vent 10 of 10. Hurling, Tier 3, Ranged Arsenal 10 of 10. Magical Utility, Tier 1, Channel Mastery 10 of 10. Mana Manipulation 10 of 10. Tier 3, Mana Sight 10 of 10. Physicality, Tier 2, Airwalk 10 of 10. Restoration, Tier 0, Healing Word 10 of 10. Sharpshooting, Tier 0, Drilling Shot 10 of 10. Seeker Shot 10 of 10. Tier 1, piercing shot, 10 of 10. Strong draw, 10 of 10. Tier 2, endless quiver, 10 of 10. Sharpened arrowheads, 10 of 10. Sniper shot, 10 of 10. Tier 3, bleeder shot, 10 of 10. Multi-shot, 10 of 10. Tier 4, stacked shot, 10 of 10. Utility auras, Tier 1, energy well, 10 of 10. Tier 3, Empire of Brawn, 10 of 10. Empire of Grit, 10 of 10. Empire of Will, 10 of 10. Empire of Drive, 5 of 10. Free skill points, 0. It took a gentle hiss from Sneck to shake Rain out of his stupor. He looked around in startlement, shifting the windows aside to find the tiny avatar staring at him from outside the elevator. Unlike an actual elevator, this one's doors had remained obediently open for him while he'd been lost in thought, drooling over possibilities. Embarrassed, he coughed, updating Empire of Drive to show as maxed before dismissing the windows and stepping forward to greet himself. The memory synchronization process wasn't jarring, not like he'd expected it to be when he'd first started experimenting with splitting his mind. Between one footfall and the next, he discovered everything he'd written in the report for the council, as well as Ascension's status, which Sneck had checked through detection. Discovered was perhaps the wrong word. It was more like remembering something he'd been deliberately not thinking about than getting new information. He didn't need to digest it. He already had. Speaking of digesting, any chance you feel up to reading the zone codices? Rain asked. Sneck, who'd floated up to his shoulder and was busy wriggling under the blanket cape, took a moment to settle himself, and then shook his head, his tongue flicking out to tickle Rain's neck. I know, they looked so dry, Rain replied, his boots clomping on the white deck plating as he made his way down the well-lit hallway. The atmosphere here felt electric, charged, as if with possibility. He'd come to believe it was the invisible potential of his unspent skill point lingering in the air, not having found a physical manifestation. Doorways on either side of the hall were labelled with the names of his skill trees in golden text, but the skill cradles within were blocked from view by heavy security bulkheads. The warden had stopped him from using his abilities once. She'd also told him that the mind followed the soul. Bolstering the station's security was a step to stopping such funny business. Like everything else, it was a work in progress. Passing the last labelled room and reaching the end of the hallway, Rain stopped in front of a doorway that was as yet without a door. One of his essence tank backpacks rested nearby, still partially full of potential leftover from yesterday's construction. Drawing some out, he formed a simple nameplate bearing the word miscellaneous, then fixed it above the entryway using black text. While the other rooms were threaded through with system stuff coming from his specializations, this one was not. It was built of plain, low-rank essence, coloured a flat white. The two skill cradles inside were dark, though not empty. The scant shards of meaning within the glass orb were very much there, just inactive. The plates below read Ice Bolt and Softened Steps. There was also a small table to one side, upon which sat a metal frame holding a skill shard under a magnifying lens, a shard that liked to light up when he talked to Dozer. Right, Rain said, clapping his hands, then rubbing them against each other. Let's get ready for some unity.